Plans through CarShield provide low-cost monthly car protection that can save you thousands of dollars in repairs on your out-of-warranty vehicle. Those plans can pay for expensive repairs on up to 6,000 parts of your car when they break down, including your engine, your transmission, AC, entertainment unit, and even your electrical system.
When I called a customer and told them that everything that needed to be done from the car was going to be covered, they were ecstatic. I feel great about recommending CarShield to everybody I see.
When you call CarShield, you'll get a price lock guarantee. That means your low monthly price never goes up, as long as you cover your car.
Being an essential worker and a mom of 3, finances can be very tight at times. If it wasn't for CarShield, I wouldn't have my car.
Your plan can even go the extra mile by including 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance with things like flat or damaged tires, lockouts, dead batteries, and courtesy towing, all at no additional cost to you. If you've got an out-of-warranty vehicle, you need to call CarShield and get their price lock guarantee for a low monthly rate for as long as you cover your car. But darlings, this is important. You have to call before your car breaks down, or it's too late.
Don't get stuck paying for sky-high car repairs. Call CarShield before your next breakdown. Call 800-548-6995. 800-548-6995. 800-548-6995.
The partisan extremes do trust their news sources. People are going to watch them and say, yes, stick it to them. Then there are the rest of us who want to evaluate things issue by issue, story by story. On NewsNation, that's what we're doing.
Ahead on Early Morning, an investigation is underway in the nation's capital after an unresponsive plane flew over restricted airspace in D.C. before crashing in Virginia. What we're learning as you're waking up on this Monday morning. Plus, concern is mounting in Portland after 6 women's bodies were found within 100 miles of each other over the last few months. What investigators are saying coming up. And later, the race for the White House is heating up as more contenders are throwing their hat into the ring of the already crowded GOP field. And the jabs former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley threw at her fellow rivals. All that and more coming up. Hello, happy Monday. I'm Nick Smith, and this is Early Morning. We begin with the tense moments in Washington, D.C. last night after a plane flew in restricted airspace, prompting a massive response from the U.S. that could be felt throughout large portions of D.C. and the surrounding area. Take a listen. Yeah, that sound was a sonic boom over the nation's capital as several F-16 fighter jets chased the aircraft with an unresponsive pilot. Now, this morning, officials say no survivors were found at the crash near George Washington National Forest in Virginia. NewsNation Washington, D.C. correspondent Tom Dempsey is live this morning from the nation's capital with the breaking developments. Tom, I have to think it was the sound of that boom that had most people alarmed. What more are we learning this morning?
Yeah, good morning, Nick. I actually heard that sonic boom not too far away in Virginia, but this morning emergency crews remain out at the scene of where this crash happened with this plane, trying to figure out what exactly happened inside the cockpit of the plane that led it to fly into very restricted airspace over Washington, D.C., and then later crash in Southwest Virginia. But, Nick, as you can imagine, this all led to the Capitol building behind me being put on heightened alert, and many people around the region reported, hearing that sonic boom, and depending on where they were standing, they may have potentially seen planes shooting flares as a way to try and get the attention of the pilot. All that was part of this emergency response. But this morning, investigators are describing the plane that was tied to this whole thing as a small Cessna plane, like what you see here, that can fit up to 12 people on board. Investigators say the plane took off from Tennessee just after 1 on Sunday headed for an airport on Long Island in New York. But for reasons still unknown this morning, the plane veered off course and flew a straight route down over D.C. before crashing in an area of George Washington National Forest in Montebello, Virginia, around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The U.S. military says it sent up at least 2 fighter jets to intercept the plane as it headed towards D.C., and NORAD supervisors authorized them to shoot flares, all to try and get the pilot's attention, and using supersonic speeds during the response. The New York Times reports that the plane was registered to a company in Florida, and when contacted, the owner says his daughter, young granddaughter, her nanny, and the pilot were on board at the time. He said he did not have much info on what led to the crash, but he said, quote, "It descended at 20,000 feet a minute, and nobody could survive a crash from that speed." Obviously, something went wrong inside that plane. And again, this morning, Nick, we don't know exactly, but we hope to get more answers later today as this investigation still remains in its early
Tom, I know
stages.
this is just the beginning of the investigation, like you just said. I'm thinking immediately that there had to be some type of medical emergency. Can you describe what it was like in D.C. at the time?
Yeah, you know, I was walking back from the grocery store. I live across the Potomac River in Virginia. I was walking back from the grocery store right around 3:30 p.m., which lines up with this timeline of what exactly happened. And the only way I can really describe it is sort of a muffled explosion. You could hear it way off in the distance. It didn't really alarm me too much, but when I, went on Twitter in a little bit and I saw, the reports of a supersonic jet and sort of, the more details came out about this plane flying into restricted space. Obviously, some concerns rose after that. But again, lots of unanswered questions right now, Nick, and trying to get to the bottom of that. Emergency crews are doing that this morning.
And Tom, quickly, because I know you're in D.C. and a lot of people watching may not understand what restricted space is. Can you explain that quickly in D.C. and why that matters?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't fly over, the Capitol building, the White House, the National Mall. I mean, that for obvious reasons, obviously. And, you don't have to think too far back to, 9/11 when, this area experienced a tragedy on that day when a plane flew into the Pentagon. So the airspace over Washington, D.C. heavily monitored and restricted airspace over.
Tom Dempsey, thank you so much for reporting to us live this morning from the nation's capital. Now to India, where a rail minister says a signaling malfunction is to blame for the country's deadliest train accident in decades. Nearly 300 people were killed and more than 800 others injured after 2 passenger trains changed tracks and collided with a freight train on Friday. Now, officials are still investigating whether the error was human or technical. The crash has led to renewed calls to address safety issues in India's railway system. Chicago police are still looking for the person who killed a 25-year-old woman and injured 6 others during a remembrance for someone killed in a car crash. Police say a large group of people gathered early Sunday morning to mark 4 years since a man's fatal accident when there was a fight and shots fired. Among the 6 victims, a man is in critical condition while others are in good condition. No arrests have been made. Now to a chilling mystery in Portland, Oregon. In the last 3 months, 6 women have been found dead. All are under the age of 40 and found within 100 miles of each other in wooded, rural places. It has many asking, are these cases connected? And if so, how? NewsNation's Jorge Ventura has the latest.
6 women have been found dead in rural areas across the Portland metro. The remains of the first woman, Kristen Smith, were found on February 19th off of Southeast Faville Road on the borders of Portland and Happy Valley.
Her kids love her more than she could ever imagine.
Less than 2 months later, on April 8th, 32-year-old Joanna Speaks, a loving mother and sister, was found dead in rural Clark County.
Her sense of humor is going to be probably missed the most.
Definitely. She was so full of life.
The manner of Speaks' death, the only one determined, blunt force trauma to the head and neck area. Then just 2 weeks later, on April 24th, officials discovered 2 more bodies, 24-year-old Charity Lynn Perry and a woman who has yet to be identified. A week later, Bridget Webster's remains were found near Mill Creek in rural Polk County. And in the most recent case, 22-year-old Ashley Rio was found dead in a heavily wooded area near Eagle Creek on May 7th. In most of these cases, the manner or cause of death have not been determined, but Portland Police Bureau and multiple county sheriffs are investigating for any connections.
It's definitely something they're looking at. They're aware that there seems to be some similarities there, but it's too soon for them to say that there's, anything directly linked between these.
While the Clackamas County Sheriff Office says we are working with our partner agencies to determine if there are any connections between this case in Clackamas County and any others in the region.
And that was NewsNation correspondent Jorge Ventura reporting. Now to the race for the White House, where the GOP field is expected to grow this week. Former Vice President Mike Pence, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum are expected to declare as candidates in the already crowded GOP field. Last night, Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley went after her former boss, former President Donald Trump, and rival Ron DeSantis over their refusal to say if they want Ukraine to win in its war against Russia. In a CNN town hall, she threw several jabs at the two who are seen to be the frontrunners. Ms. Haley is now the only woman in the race on the Republican side, and she criticized DeSantis for saying Ukraine was a territorial dispute. Take a listen.
I think that that's a mistake that too many have made. That's exactly what got the Europeans in this position with Russia in the first place, is that they're too trustful. You can't be trustful of a regime that goes in and tries to take away people's freedoms. What we need to understand is that Ukraine has the ability to win, but we have to think bigger than that. And for them to sit there and say that this is a territorial dispute, that's just not the case. To say that we should stay neutral, it is in the best interest of America. It's in the best interest of our national security for Ukraine to win. We have to see this through. We have to finish it.
And we'll have more coverage on the GOP 2024 race a little later in the show. A congressional reporter for The Hill will join us with more on the latest in political headlines. Now to this update out of California. The union representing thousands of television and movie directors agreed to a tentative deal with Hollywood studios. This as the writer's strike continues for a fifth week. The Directors Guild of America called it a historical deal and said it would make unprecedented gains for workers. It includes a raise in wages, streaming residuals, guardrails around the use of AI, and the ban of live ammunition on film sets. The 19,000-member union must still vote on the deal. It's unclear what this agreement means for the screenwriters who have been on strike since early May. Well, coming up, the star-studded Barbie movie has affected the paint inventory. More on the pink paint shortage after this. You're watching Early Morning.
When you find your reason to go on, let it pull you past the doubt, past the pain, and past your limits. No matter what, we go on. BioFreeze.
If you've had thyroid eye disease for years and you can't get any shut-eye because you can't shut your eyes, it's not too late for another treatment option. To learn more, visit treatted.com. That's treat.com.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. My hose is lightweight. My hose will not kink. Come on! And my hose is anti-leak. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new Pocket Hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow to a full-size 3/4-inch hose. And when you turn off the water, away it goes, shrinking and squeezing that water out until it's practically bone dry. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, the same technology used in forest fire hoses because it's light and tough. 3 times stronger than the other hoses. It's guaranteed for 10 years. Nearly impossible to tear or snag. And the redesigned connector protector with flexible collar helps stop leaks at the spigot. But my favorite part of our new hose build, the oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Easy on and off, even with gloves. Perfect for power washing cars and trucks, ready to go anywhere, even your pocket. With more than 100 patents worldwide, it's the best pocket hose in the world. Get the super light 25-foot pocket hose Copper Bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our Turbo Shot adjustable nozzle. From those delicate flowers to power washing your walkway, a $20 value, absolutely free. Copper Bullet is not available in stores. This is an exclusive advanced release of our 2024 edition pocket hose. There is a strict limit of 3 per order. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-431-7615. That's 1-800-431-7615. Or visit copperbullethose.com. So call 1-800-431-7615 now.
What's gotten lost in a lot of news coverage is trust.
Look, trust is earned, and it's harder and harder these days to earn it. But I think you do the right job, you do it consistently.
Consistent calling out of the game, refocusing power on the interests of people.
And I hope that News Nation is the place that people can come because they trust that at the least we're trying to be straight with them.
It's the only way.
Welcome back to Early Morning. You've got to see this video. Drivers driving down the highway in England and captures this video of a llama blocking the highway. Take a look. The driver was on the highway in England before it was taken off the roadway. That llama was there, and it was cleared by highway personnel. Now, the animal was wandering at night in Lancashire. The llama stopped traffic and police were called, but National Highways workers had already taken control of the situation by the time police arrived. Now, officials revealed that they were investigating where the llama came from and how it ended up walking on the highway. No word yet on whether or not that llama has been sighted. The upcoming Barbie film starring Ryan Gosling and as Ken and Margot Robbie as Barbie has caused an international shortage on pink paint. Yeah, I'm not making this up. Take a look. The movie required the pink paint to build out the fictional world of Barbie Land. So the color pink has long been associated with Barbie dolls and accessories, and the director of the film wanted to make it an integral part of the movie. So the set was built on the Warner Brothers Studios lot in London, and it includes all the classic parts of Barbie's dream house, even a water slide. Now, to prepare for the set design, a dream house was bought on Amazon as a model. Now to Mexico, where an employee at a Sonic Drive-In restaurant, this is New Mexico, excuse me, this employee at the restaurant, listen, he got in trouble. Why? He was arrested after his bag of cocaine accidentally turned up on a customer's hot dog. Yeah, take a look at this. Our reporter from our affiliate reports this story.
A bag of cocaine in a fast food hot dog. Police say Celine Gonzalez got that surprise Tuesday.
She was doing something many of us enjoy in the summertime, just going out, getting a hot dog to go.
She got it at this Sonic in Espanola on South Riverside, took a bite, and realized she'd bitten down on a small plastic bag filled with the white powder, officers say. Police claim testing confirmed it is a gram of cocaine. In their report, officers say Gonzalez spit out the bag, but didn't say whether she ingested any of the drug. Word has already spread around town, but this Sonic is still open, and many people got food while we were here.
I think that's pretty scary. First of all, you know, we come here to get food and for our families, and if a child found that, it could have been pretty bad or deadly.
Kind of crazy. I mean, cocaine in a hot dog, I mean, doesn't sound right, but I mean, I just got an ice cream. I hope we're good.
Police say the cook is responsible. They charged David Salazar with cocaine possession, a felony. Police say they watched surveillance video from inside the Sonic and claim after making Gonzalez's food, Salazar looks like he's frantically searching for something he lost. Officers say he admitted to them that it was his cocaine. He says he bought it from someone in the Sonic parking lot.
And that was our New Mexico affiliate reporting. New court documents show prosecutors investigating the University of Idaho murder suspect requested search warrants for digital evidence from Bryan Kohberger as well as his alleged victims and their roommates. It was revealed that the authorities sought Snapchat search warrants for all the roommates from June 23rd to August 1st of 2022. On Friday, host Chris Cuomo interviewed former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Kuffendaffer about Bryan Kohberger's history of stalking the Idaho murder victims. Here's part of their conversation.
There's now some new grist for the mill involving Snapchat and ATT phone records. How so?
Well, it's interesting with the Snapchat and the AT&T. Now they have gone back to June 23rd through August 1st. Now, this is very specific, Chris, and leads me to believe they have very specific information that they've received either from something somebody said or from other documents they've reviewed. There is something that's going on in that time frame that they're looking to corroborate.
Do we know if they were cross-referencing Kohberger's social media, Snapchat, whatever, with one or more of the victims?
That is what I would expect. I would expect them to be looking for any nexus. And remember, we have a whole plethora of documents that were released, not only Snap and AT&T, we have Reddit, we have Google, TikTok, Strava. So it's a lot of documentation, all of them sealed due to the intimate nature of what was obtained and objectionable content per these warrants. So it's kind of interesting. That's certainly the boilerplate they've been using, Chris. Oh, well, what it tells me is, you know, they've uncovered and discovered information that is just that. And they needed to use that language to convince the judge. And
what does that mean, objectionable?
These documents.
What does that mean? What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, it could be anything from sexually explicit. It could mean that it pointed to the murder specifics. It could mean that there is language and information used amongst the parties that normal individuals might find objectionable.
Make sure you watch Chris Cuomo on his primetime show, CUOMO, weeknights at 8, 7 Central, right here on News Nation. Well, coming up, some big conservative names are set to announce a run for the White House in the coming days. More on the 2024 race after this short break. You're watching Early Morning.
For every purpose, for every path, for every soul, for every season, there's a Ram.
Now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP on the 2023 Ram 1500.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. With the money we saved, we tried electric unicycles.
I think I got it.
Doggy paddle. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Did you know, unless you treat dandruff regularly, it will keep coming back? Try Head & Shoulders shampoo. Dandruff is caused by irritation to a germ that lives on everyone's scalp. Unlike regular shampoo, Head & Shoulders contains zinc pyrithione, which fights the dandruff-causing germ and helps prevent it from coming back. It's gentle on hair and provides up to 100% dandruff protection, clinically proven. Try Head & Shoulders shampoo and conditioner. For best results, use with every wash. This has been Medifax for Head & Shoulders.
Shopping for Father's Day is hard.
Actually, it's easy.
You never know what to get him.
Just give me steak.
It has to be perfect.
Yep. Dads want steak.
Right now, Omaha Steaks is offering Dad's favorite gift package that includes 4 of our exquisite bacon-wrapped filet mignons, 4 air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, boneless pork chops, jumbo Frank's dessert, and more. All for just $99.99. Save 61%. Order today at omahasteaks.com/TV and you'll get 8 burgers free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Works hard at hour 1 and twice as hard when you take it again the next day. So Betty can be the barcode beat conductor. Go, Betty! Let's be more than our allergies. Seize the day with Zyrtec.
No, I can find someone. They love extra projects. We need promotional products.
I'm on it. Exclusive apparel, bags, high-tech items, and more. 4imprint takes the stress out of getting exactly what you need with the certainty that you'll get your promotional products on time and on budget. Make your go-to choice 4imprint.com.
You can come out now. I'm on it.
4imprint, for certain.
Now, I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but The technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. And that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down.
Get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. 800-406-5171.
Welcome back to Early Morning. Taking a turn now to the campaign for the White House. Republican presidential hopefuls are criticizing Donald Trump for praising North Korean leader Kim Jong-un after the country received a seat on the World Health Organization's executive board. Many challengers to the former president are looking to capitalize on his controversial comments. NewsNation correspondent Evan Moon reports from D.C.
How you doing? As the 2024 race ramps up, GOP hopefuls are taking aim at former President Donald Trump this weekend after a Truth Social post congratulating Kim Jong-un for a position on the World Health Organization's executive board. Multiple GOP candidates slammed Trump for praising the North Korean dictator, including former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson on NewsNation.
Let me tell you, American leaders should not be praising a dictator that oppresses his people. And so that's just an example of where, yes, I think we need to have different leadership, a different voice for the party that was founded on the principles of strength.
And he wasn't the only one, as former Vice President Mike Pence, uncoincidentally in Iowa this weekend, said to expect some big news this week.
But I can tell you, when I got time to announce come this Wednesday, I'm announcing in Iowa.
Officially launching his presidential campaign, Pence is already going after his former running mate, also criticizing Trump for the Truth Social post.
No one should be praising the dictator in North Korea or praising the leader of Russia, who has launched an unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine. This is a time when we ought to make it clear to the world that we stand for freedom and we stand with those who stand for freedom.
All of this taking place as campaigning heated up in the most important primary state of Iowa this weekend. Polling still shows Donald Trump 30 points ahead of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, with others in the field in the single digits, making Trump the biggest target for all GOP hopefuls.
America First does not belong to Trump. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the people of this country.
My advice is not to try to out-Trump Donald Trump. There is nobody that is really that operates in the same area as Donald Trump.
With the first Republican primary debate scheduled for August, Asa Hutchinson tells NewsNation he welcomes a well-known fight from the former president.
Anytime somebody's attacking you, that means that you're considered a threat. And so if I get attacks and incoming from Donald Trump, then we're getting close.
That was Evan Moon reporting. The field of Republican presidential hopefuls is expected to grow this week, with a few highly recognizable conservative names likely to announce a run for the White House in coming days. Here's a look at the 3 Republicans expected to declare as candidates this week: former Vice President Mike Pence, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. We're joined by Michael Schnell. She's a congressional reporter at The Hill. Michael, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nick.
Michael, you and I have had this conversation offline, but let our viewers know, do you expect any of the new candidates to impact those polling numbers that we just saw with former President Trump 30 points ahead of DeSantis?
Listen, Nick, it's always a possibility, right? Especially when we have a crowded field here. There are a lot of ways that candidates can try to draw a contrast with one another. But look, you see those numbers right there. Former President Trump has a commanding lead over the field. And then behind Trump, Ron DeSantis has a commanding lead ahead of all the others in the field. So no doubt it's going to be difficult for any candidate entering the fray now, and some of those lower tier candidates, lower tier in terms of polling, to make some sort of impact. But look, we are still significantly far out from the election. We're also far out from that first debate, as you mentioned, which is in August, the end of August, where we'll see candidates go head to head and be able to answer questions directly on policy issues. So there's plenty of time. It's definitely not about time to start ruling out any candidates or swaying any candidates away from entering the race. But no doubt it's going to be difficult for anybody to make an impact. because of the commanding lead Trump has and then the strong second place standing DeSantis has.
Yeah, Michael, like you just said, it's definitely very early. You and I remember 2016 when Walker was leading the pack this time. You know, does having a larger primary field help or hurt former President Trump, in your opinion?
Listen, conventional wisdom would say it would help him, right? Because you have Trump supporters and the contingent of the Republican Party that is standing squarely behind the former president. And then all the other folks, people who still have those conservative values, those conservative bona fides, but they're not exactly happy with perhaps the baggage former President Trump brings or all the other things, the controversies that he has drawn. Those candidates can be looking for a different forebearer for the party. And then that's when you get to the complicated part where you have that, let's call it the non-Trump part of the Republican Party. That coalition is being fractured by all these different candidates, whether it be Pence, whether it be Christie, two candidates who are expected to announce this week, whether it be Nikki Haley, whether it be Asa Hutchinson. So that's sort of where you start to break down those numbers for those candidates. They're all fighting for that same population of Republican voters, while Trump supporters are standing squarely behind him. So again, maybe a candidate could hear something from, a voter could hear something from one of these candidates that makes them change. But conventional wisdom would say the more non-Trump candidates that get in there, helpful for the front runner.
And Michael, we know that Mr. Trump and Mr. DeSantis really command the GOP field right now. Our own Brian Enton did a report last week talking about people, the voters at the villages and how they are split with their love. It's a love triangle. But more Republican candidates are starting to criticize the former president, such as on things like Ukraine, COVID, and his praise of Kim Jong-un. Do you expect those attacks of Trump to pick up, particularly when you and I are just talking about this gap in numbers?
Absolutely. And that's because all the other candidates are going to try to draw some sort of contrast with the former president to try to tell voters, hey, look, this is where I stand on this issue. I don't think former President Trump is in the right space and from the right perspective on this issue. So this is, again, going to be trying to draw a contrast with that front runner to sell personal policy platforms and perspectives to voters to try to get them on board.
And you know, and I know that over the weekend it was announced that the Republican National Committee announced strict new limits on who can participate in the first 2024 presidential primary debate. And it seems to favor the former president in the way they've set up these new rules. Can you talk about the rules and what they mean for long shot candidates like Governor Hutchinson out of Arkansas?
Yeah, well, essentially what these rules are, and I'm not going to bore you with the exact specifics of the numbers, but there are a number of fundraising thresholds and then polling thresholds. So in terms of the polling, candidates need to have either 3 national polls, they poll at least 1%, or 2 national polls where they have 1% and then 1 state poll. And then there are a number of unique contributions and then contributors from specific states and thresholds to reach that to get on the debate stage. Now, look, former President Trump is the front runner. He's been raising money for a while. We've been seeing him lead in all these polls. It's going to be easier for a candidate like him to qualify. But then when you talk about those lower tier candidates, there's still plenty of time for them to qualify. The debate is August 24th. The deadline to qualify is not till August 21st. So there's still plenty of time to, try to get numbers up in those polls, to try to get the number of contributors and amp up fundraising ahead of that date. But look, if there were no regulations, the debate stage could be endless. So the RNC has to put the gauntlet down and try to restrict it somehow. It's going to favor Trump because he's the front runner right now and he's leading in polls and he's doing really well in fundraising. So that's just the nature of the game. But for some of these lower tier candidates, they still have plenty of time to sort of amp up their efforts to get on that stage.
Michael, one more question for you before I let you go. I, for one, am impressed with the diversity of the field. I think we have to recognize the age differences amongst the candidates and the ethnic diversity amongst the candidates, right? We have like 4 or 5 people of color actually bidding for that GOP nomination. Do you expect more Republicans to launch presidential bids, or have we seen everyone that you think will throw their hat into the ring?
Listen, a number of the front runners, rather not the front runners, the individuals who were widely expected to run, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, have already announced. We're going to see this week likely Mike Pence announced. We're likely going to see former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. There could, of course, be more, but I think that right now, a number of the names that we had been talking about for months beforehand, sort of Washington trying to understand what's going to happen in the next election, a number of those names who we had floated and who had spoken about, those names who had traveled to Iowa and New Hampshire, without having a campaign, but just saying to meet voters and familiarize themselves. A number of those candidates have already jumped in the race. Of course, it's possible for more to come in. Again, we are still very far out from Election Day 2024, but most of the big names, I think, are in there right now.
Michael, last question for you, less than 30 seconds. Do you expect Mr. Biden's age to continue to be a punching point?
I mean, look, this is something that voters have said that they are concerned with, and the facts are the facts. President Biden is already the oldest president to occupy the White House. He's now asking voters to elect him to remain in the White House till he's age 86. That has been a concern among voters. And then also when you talk about candidates make a contrast with one another, a number of particularly Republican candidates, Nikki Haley, for example, have been saying that it's time for a new generation of leadership in Washington. So I think that as we see younger candidates take on the race and jump into the race, we can see them trying to draw a contrast with Joe Biden on this issue of age, because they have that, they have that in their arsenal. They are younger than Biden, but B, because polls are showing that voters are concerned about this.
Michael Chanel, once again, I love talking to you about this stuff. Michael Chanel, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Summer break is here, which means schools are doing everything they can to keep teachers, right? Well, after the break, more on what school districts are doing to stop teachers from leaving. You're watching Early Morning on NewsNation.
When moderate to severe ulcerative colitis keeps flaring, put it in check with Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
When UC got unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq and left bathroom emergency behind. Check.
When UC got in my way, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my gastro saw damage,
Rinvoq helped visibly repair the colon lining. Check. Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to visibly repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers, including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastro about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.
When you find your reason to go on, let it pull you past the doubt, past the pain, and past your limits. No matter what, we go on. BioFreeze.
Hi.
Hello there.
Would you like some lemonade? $5, please.
Had enough inflation? Undo inflation with Dish. Get the same TV bill every month for 3 years.
Supply chain issues.
The 3-year TV price guarantee, only from Dish.
If you've had thyroid eye disease for years and itchy eyes have you itching for a fight, it's not too late for another treatment option. To learn more, visit treatted.com. That's treat.com.
Don't wish. Don't hope. Don't dream. No. Plan. See the steps it takes to get it done right and follow them. At Avis, we rent cars, unlike anyone else rents cars. Because for 75 years, we've only had one plan. To make sure you keep yours.
Pop quiz. Did you know you can lose weight with a plan that fits your budget and your goals? Introducing Quick 9 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 9 pounds your first 2 weeks. You get delicious frozen meals delivered right to your door with convenient shipments at an affordable price and fast weight loss.
I'm saving money and I'm losing weight.
It's flexible, it's affordable, and it works. Get off to a fast start with Quick 9. Call or go online right now to get over 50% off plus free extras.
This is not just delivery. This is knowing even superheroes can use a sidekick. Walgreens. This is not just a pharmacy. This is living the care in healthcare. Walgreens.
What's the #1 retinol brand used most by dermatologists? It's Neutrogena. Rapid wrinkle repair smooths the look of fine lines in 1 week, deep wrinkles in 4. So you can kiss wrinkles goodbye. Neutrogena.
Welcome back to Early Morning. I'm Nick Smith. It was a close call between two ships, a Chinese warship and a U.S. destroyer. According to officials on Saturday, the warship came within 150 yards of the U.S. guided missile destroyer. The near collision happened as U.S. and Canadian navies were conducting a joint exercise in the Taiwan Strait. Now, this separates the island of Taiwan and China. The Chinese ship cut in front of the U.S. destroyer, forcing it to slow down to avoid crashing. China claims the U.S. and Canada deliberately provoked risk after staging a rare joint sailing through the strait. This is all happening as tensions increase between the U.S. and China. In Tennessee, a federal judge blocked a state law to restrict drag performances in public or where children are present. LGBTQ community and their supporters celebrated the ruling, which called the drag law unconstitutionally vague, and that laws infringing on freedom of speech must be narrow and well-defined. So far this year, Republican lawmakers have introduced over 500 bills to regulate the conduct of gay and transgender people. Well, the Bible is now a banned book from a Utah school district. The move comes as parents sent a complaint saying some Bible verses were just simply too vulgar or violent or graphic for young children. Davis School District, which is just north of Salt Lake City, removed all the books from elementary and middle schools. The district did allow the Bible to stay in high schools. Meanwhile, another complaint was submitted to the review for the Book of Mormon, which the signature script of the predominant faith in Utah. Now, there are an alarming amount of children disappearing in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, since the beginning of May, almost 30 children have been reported missing over a 2-week span. Now, officials fear some of these children may be the victims of predators. Many of them don't even have photos on the missing website. NewsNation correspondent Evan Lambert has more on this disturbing trend.
Hey, I got a runner out of the vehicle. She's heading back towards the main drag.
The U.S. Marshals Service is the premier federal agency responsible for tracking down violent fugitives. But another part of the job, they say, is just as important, looking for missing children.
I have a daughter same age as you. So that just shows you how important it is.
This is video from Operation We Will Find You, a U.S. Marshals mission that just ended with 225 missing children found in 16 locations across the country. But despite the success, there's a new challenge. Figures reviewed by NewsNation show in particular Cleveland, Ohio, had 34 children reported missing in May, all still missing, according to Cleveland police data. Local and federal law enforcement are disturbed by the trend, but maybe more troubling, when asked if they knew the cause, no one can seem to point to it.
You know, it's a great question. The straight answer is no.
In 2021, marshals say more than 300,000 children were reported missing, 91% of them runaways, and 1 in 6 were likely victims of human trafficking.
When you look at those numbers, right, that it almost, you know, takes your breath away to think that 1 in 6 kids out of that many kids are being potentially sexually trafficked.
And that was NewsNation's Evan Lambert reporting. Well, summer break is here or right around the corner for those of you with school-age kids. So going back to class in the fall seems so far away, right? But for school districts across the country, this is crunch time to hire up educators for the next school year. The teacher shortage is facing some states to ramp up their efforts to retain those who are already under signed contracts. Now, NewsNation's Stephanie Haynes joins us live with details. Stephanie, this is an effort to keep teachers who are really under a lot of pressure already to support a classroom with fewer elements of support.
Nick, it is. And, you know, all these state officials with state boards of education don't want teachers to up and quit and leave the district in a bind to either hire up a teacher for the current school year or hire for the next school year. So more and more state board of educations are going after teachers for breaking their contracts. And for instance, here in Texas, the number of requests by school districts to either suspend or revoke teaching certificates is at the highest it's been in years. And in Missouri, on Tuesday, 3 teachers are going before the State Board of Education to consider disciplining their license. In each of those cases, the teachers quit, which was technically breaking their contract early, and the district reported them to the state board. And in one instance, the district saying, quote, "Contracts exist for a reason, so the district is not left scrambling to replace a teacher." Now, one of the teachers reported that she was threatened by students, and that was part of the reason why she wanted to leave. Now, this is a trend that's unfortunately becoming more common. According to the American Psychological Association, recent data shows 1 out of every 3 teachers reported at least one incident of verbal harassment or threatening behavior by a student, and 14% reported incidents of physical violence from a student, as evidenced from this one case in Florida earlier this year when a student with special needs in a Florida school district tackled a teacher to the ground. Critics say this will only make the problem worse.
And I don't agree with it. I think they're putting a Band-Aid on something that's hemorrhaging, and we know that never works. And it actually will backfire because you won't have people wanting to come into the profession. No one is going to sign up and say, oh, I want to go in and become a teacher and then have my license taken away.
On the flip side, there are plenty of states who are trying to incentivize hiring up teachers. So, for instance, there are apprenticeship programs in Texas. You don't need to have a state certification to be a teacher. In Oklahoma, you may not even need to have a college degree for certain roles. And in Arizona, you can work full time as a teacher in the classroom as long as you are enrolled in college, Nick.
Stephanie, you know, this seems like such a difficult subject. I have friends who are teachers, and I ask them, why do you even bother when there seems to be no support from the district and you're put under more pressure? You just said 33% of teachers have been attacked in the classroom. Stephanie, that's just unacceptable.
33% have reported threats or threatening behavior by students, to be clear, from the American Psychological Association. And that was a study during COVID. But yeah, it is just a really tough time out there for school districts and for teachers, just to hire teachers, to retain them, to get them to want to stay, and then also to make sure our students across America get the education they deserve, Nick.
And our teachers also deserve support. Stephanie Haynes reporting live for us this morning. Stephanie, thank you so much. Now to a warning from fire departments across the nation. Officials are issuing warnings about fires being caused by batteries in e-bikes and e-scooters. Our Dre Clyker's live this morning on the dangers plaguing homes across the country because, Dre, it's my understanding a lot of people leave these things charged up, or maybe they're not plugged in, and still a fire can happen in the garage or basement unbeknownst to the homeowner.
Yeah, and by the time they realize it, in many of these cases, it's way too late. Yeah, cases of fires being caused by those malfunctioning lithium-ion batteries here in New York City are tripling so far this year. And this home you see right here, which is now nothing more than a burned-out shell, is an example of the aftermath of one of those fires. In this case, it was deadly. This is video from when that fire happened in April. The smoke and flames killing a 19-year-old young lady and a 7-year-old boy. The fire department says an e-bike battery exploded in the hallway of a second-floor apartment, trapping the victims inside. Lithium-ion battery fires are happening so frequently here in New York City that council members are now saying the city may have a looming crisis on its hands. The latest numbers from the fire department show the death rate is growing more than 3 times of what it was last year. In 2022, the fire department had 88 investigations linked to malfunctioning lithium-ion batteries. 30 people were injured and 2 people died. A year later, in 2023, a major jump. 92 investigations, 64 people injured, and 9 people killed so far this year. But the problem isn't unique to New York City. In St. Louis, for example, recently a fire caused a recycling center here to catch flames, and firefighters say it was because of a lithium-ion battery. In almost every part of the nation, lithium-ion battery fires are on the rise, with the batteries in e-bikes and e-scooters exploding while they're supposed to be safely charging. Fire marshals say a lot of the batteries on the market are cheap, poorly made, unsafe, and more likely to malfunction, causing a fire. Firefighters want tougher regulations and better safety standards for the batteries. One suggestion has been made to place the batteries in a fire-resistant container while they're charging. These batteries can be found in most electronic devices, including laptops, cell phones, and remote control cars, just to name a few. At a hearing last month here in New York City, one firefighter described what it's like when those lithium-ion batteries explode.
When there's a fire started by a lithium-ion battery, it's been compared to when an accelerant is used, for example, gasoline.
And here's another look at that home here again, that fire happening in April, taking 2 lives. Meanwhile, later this month at the annual Firefighter Safety Stand Down meeting, which is a meeting of national fire chiefs, they will be talking about these lithium-ion batteries. It will be A1 on their agenda because so many of these fires linked to these batteries are beginning to happen all across the country. Nick?
And Dre, you mentioned so many things that are in most of our homes, everything from laptops to phones, everything, and we just really need to be aware. Dre Clark reporting live for us this morning. Dre, thank you. Another year, another virtual reality headset. Coming up, Apple's announcement on their new pricey product. You're watching Early Morning on NewsNation.
The viewer seems to have been lost in the shuffle of cable news lately.
The vast majority of people are in the sensible middle. They're not the far right wing and they're not the far left wing.
They don't want a team sport. They want the full picture.
The appetite is greater than it has ever been for perspective, for understanding, and for information that they can not just trust, but use.
We only earn that trust, keep that trust by every single night fulfilling that mission.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too. Jardiance may cause serious side effects including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. And don't take it if you're on dialysis. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
When you find your reason to go on, let it pull you past the doubt, past the pain, and past your limits. No matter what, we go on. BioFreeze.
If you've had thyroid eye disease for years and the pain in your eyes burns like a red-hot chili pepper, it's not too late for another treatment option. To learn more, visit treatted.com. That's treat, TED.com.
Hi, I'm Norma, and I lost 53 pounds on Golo. Once I entered menopause, I did not like the fact that I had gained body fat around my waist. And I thought, oh no, that can't happen. I've never had that problem. After starting Golo and taking Release, I immediately saw an improvement in my waistline. A lot of people expect to fall apart as they age, but since taking Release, I've never felt better. Thanks to Golo, I'm 66, but I feel like I'm 36.
Meet the future. A chef, a designer, and an engineer. All learning to save and spend their money with Chase. The chef's cooking up first with her new debit card.
Hungry?
Uh-huh. The designer's eyeing sequins, plaid. While mom is eyeing his spending. Nice. And the engineer? She's taking control with her own account for college. 3 futures, all with Chase. Freedom for kids, control for parents. One bank for both. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Some men and women freak out when they first notice signs of hair loss. Some say, no big deal, I don't look much different. Either way, hair loss does sneak up on you. And if you do nothing, chances are you'll soon see your hair getting thinner and thinner and thinner. All while a range of great options are available to you right now.
Before you lose any more hair, grab your phone and scan this QR code. Because Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration experts, can stop your hair loss and give you your real hair back permanently. we're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to everyone who scans the code now.
But remember, the sooner you get started, the sooner your results of great-looking hair.
For a free information kit and gift card for $250 off, scan the code. Don't wait. Scan the code now. Get the permanent solution to hair loss, protected by the Bosley Guarantee.
Welcome back. On Saturday, President Biden officially signed legislation to raise the U.S. debt ceiling and avoid the nation's first default. The president explained the importance of the legislation during an Oval Office address on Friday before putting pen to paper. But not everyone is celebrating. Lawmakers, both sides of the aisle, are unhappy with certain concessions made to make that deal. On Friday, host Chris Cuomo interviewed former National Security Advisor John Bolton about how political parties have addressed the debt ceiling. Here's part of their conversation.
I don't like what the right did here. And the left has done it in the past, but not as often as the right. Playing with the debt ceiling is dirty pool. You want to negotiate the budget, do it. Oh, yeah, but we don't have the votes. Win more elections. But we saw what happened in 2011 and how it hurt us and how it hurt our credit rating and how it gave us additional borrowing expenses and how it hurt the stock market. And Biden said it would never happen again, and now here we are. Is the moral of the story, John, we just can't do better?
No, I think people don't understand what the debt ceiling is all about. I think it's an entirely prudent thing to have. I think it's part of Congress's basic powers. And I think if you look at the history of it, you can see that these calls to abolish the debt ceiling are part of a 100-year-long process of diminishing the authority of Congress and increasing the authority of the executive branch. It's a huge mistake.
Yeah, listen, I'm fine with the debt ceiling. I'm fine with the debt ceiling. I'm saying using the need, the requirement to raise the debt ceiling to meet your obligations that you already voted on to spend is holding hostage our collective economic health. And I don't think that's when you should be negotiating a budget.
Again, let's look at the history. Let's look at the history. Up until World War I, Congress had to vote on every debt instrument that the United States issued, prospectively. Yes, we agree to this level of debt. In World War I, the financing became so complicated that some genius said, let's take this out of Congress's hands. We'll just let the Treasury figure out how much they're going to borrow and all the rest of it. But Congress, it's okay. You're not giving up anything because we're going to give you this debt ceiling.
Make sure you watch Chris Cuomo on his primetime show, Cuomo, weeknights at 8, 7 Central, right here on NewsNation. Well, today, Apple is expected to release their new Reality Pro headset that will take users between virtual and the real world. This $3,000 headset certainly isn't the first of its kind, but Apple CEO Tim Cook argues that augmented reality is the future. The tech giant is expected to use the event to show off its latest Mac computer, preview the next operating system for the iPhone, and discuss their strategy for AI. Well, Spider-Man Across the Universe has earned $120.5 million, and it just opened. This weekend, the Spider-Man remake topped theaters across the nation. It was the second largest domestic opening of 2023, trailing only the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, Disney's live-action The Little Mermaid slid to second in the box office, earning only $40.6 million in its second weekend. Now, last night, Miami Heat topped the Denver Nuggets. I didn't want to see that. Forget what my photographer says over there. But they only did it by 3 points. Now, tying the series 1-1, but one retired Nuggets player has faith that Denver will win the NBA championship. Our Courtney Fromm, with our Denver affiliate, has the story.
I've been involved with this organization for a long, long time.
Former Nuggets star Dan Issel says excited is an understatement when it comes to the Nuggets playing the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals.
It's been 47 years since we've been in the NBA, and this is the first time to the Finals.
Thursday night during Game 1 of the Finals with the Nuggets at home, Issel, a former player on the court, was able to enjoy being a fan during one of the most important games of the team's history.
I was at the game on Thursday night and took my 5 grandchildren children with me, and the response from people, I heard from people I haven't heard from for 4 or 5 years.
Issel crediting the players this season.
The most unselfish superstars I've ever seen.
Kyle, also a Nuggets fan.
My whole life.
Went to meet the retired player today.
I just grew up in Highlands Ranch and like representing a Colorado team. So finally making it to finals is nice.
Geared up and ready to keep cheering on the yellow and blue.
Go Nuggets.
Along with Issel, who will be watching at home on Sunday night with a win he predicts on the way.
And the Nuggets this year are the best team, and that's why I think they'll win. Go Nuggets.
Thanks so much for joining Early Morning. Morning in America starts in 3 minutes.